Okay, we are back. We are live. I hope you had a nice weekend. It's early morning here in Norway, and I. It's been an interesting few days, to say the least. Interesting few days. So I'm here to, as a Norwegian, to bring you some updates on a very interesting development that I have been observing for some time, but now it's really kicking off. Let's just take a few seconds so that people can join the chat. I'll have a drink of my cup. Yeah, let me see if I can figure out a dad joke while we are talking. Good evening to all the Americans that they usually tune in at this time of the day or night. Mm. So, the title, if I can remember correctly, is first a quote, and the quote there is, who do they think they are? Um, who do they think they are? And that's a quote I put there just to describe the feeling and the attitude that I'm observing here in Norway. Um, and that is really about Americans now. It is. Who do they think they are? And I will be the first to say that this is not fair. It's not fair. But I'm just so I'm not. I know how this goes. Okay, I know how it is. I will be accused of hating Americans, but I'm not Norway. I'm just a person in Norway, and I'm trying to bring across some information about what's going on here because some people might find it interesting. And there's a massive, and I've never seen anything like this because it's happening so fast. A massive anti-USA movement now. Anti-USA. And I'm not going to say anti-American because that's actually part of it. Let's take that thing there first. America to Norwegians, that's the continent of South America and the continent of North America together. That's America. Occasionally, or most often, maybe North America is what we call America. And then you have the USA. That's one country in America. Yes, shining knuckles. The correct is the Americas. But we are Norwegians, so we don't get it right all the time. And I will say again, I don't think this is fair. It's not objective. It's not even my opinion that I'm bringing across here. So I'm just here to tell you about this massive anti-USA movement that we are seeing now. So just yesterday, I think it was, I read an article in one of the main newspapers here. How can you use social media and email and web browsers, all of that, everything digital, really. How can you do that without supporting American companies? Because people are really now getting into boycotting the USA. And I find it, I don't know what to say. and the attitude, and I feel this attitude myself when I listen to certain politicians in the USA. It's like, who the fuck do they think they are? You know, and I see that attitude in the comments section. I will see it here as well every single time that and then people will call it America, but it's really the USA. Um, that it's the greatest country, it's the most powerful nation, and Europe can't manage on its own. And I also see this stupid thing where the people are talking about Europe as if it's one country. And I see all of the time the European Union flag being used on thumbnails and so on when the people talk about, especially Americans. There I said it. People from the USA talk about Europe. The EU is not Europe, and Europe is not a country. It's and this is frustrating to us, especially Norwegians, because we are not in support of the European Union at all. Um, so, so this is concerning, but it's understandable because I think that if it was the other way around, can you imagine uh, the Norwegian Prime Minister saying that? Well, I won't even go there because it's just absurd, and but I the anti-USA movement is massive right now. So another thing is, in the news. Let's see if I can find the name here for that company, major company um, that is boycotting uh, customers from the USA. Haltbach Bunkers. Haltbach Bunkers, and they kind of matter because they are supplying warships and, well, all the ships, I guess, big ships coming to Norway when they need fuel. And I don't really know, but I think they need a supply ship to, because it's not like they moor up next to a gas, a diesel pump, and they go like this, like you do with your car. Um, so they will not be supplying ships from the USA anymore. It's a boycott. And I think this is going to just grow. This is just going to spread. And Haltbach Bunkers, they are saying that no, they don't think that it will change anything. They don't think that it will matter. There are other suppliers, but um, it, it's going to spread, and it's going to, you'll see more of this. And they are saying that this is the ethically and morally right thing to do. Again, I'm not saying that this is necessarily my opinion. I'm saying that this is happening now, and people might find it interesting. I get it. Norway, it's a tiny country, and I guess many people in the USA don't think that we matter at all, or that we even exist. Um, Morten says, last I checked, if you're Norwegian, you should know that Norway is not in the EU. So anyway, so this is happening. What's next? So we have, people presumably being interested in not using any providers of web browsers, emails, VPN, and this and that are based in the USA. So what's next? I guess, we won't be boycotting any food because food from the USA normally it's not even legal because of the additives. It's not even legal in Norway. But oh yeah, almost forgot. Tesla cars. There isn't really a boycott of Tesla cars, but the sales have plummeted. Who's buying Tesla cars now? Nobody. Like but and I think that has more to do with this notion, this idea that Elon Musk is a Nazi and so on. Again, I'm just one guy here reporting about this, not saying that I'm necessarily in agreement with all of this. But if I can get a little bit personal here, I the way I see, no, I think the right word would be feel. I don't know how this goes. I'm not supposed to have feelings because that will be ridiculed on social media. But it's like there are creatures living at the bottom of the deep ocean. They've never seen the sunlight. They've never seen the sunlight. They don't know that there is such a thing as sunlight. And those creatures, they care more about the opinion on some people here on the internet about me feeling, about having feelings. They care more about those people commenting on that than I do. So I don't like when you have a nation or a culture continuously portraying themselves as the savior of the world, savior of the free world, and that they are the hero and that they are the most powerful and mightiest, and so on and so on. I don't like that. First of all, it's not true. Secondly, it is a lack of humility that I find extremely obnoxious. And I think that's the feeling that most Norwegians, or I should say Scandinavians, have now. It's a feeling of, well, it's a clash of cultures, I think. Because I think the best example is actually Trump himself, who has a complete lack of humility. And that rubs us the wrong way, isn't it? I hope that's the right expression. That is not a rude thing to say. And I will get to the chat very soon now, and we will see some examples there, I'm sure, about this attitude that I am describing now, this attitude that I really can't stand, the thing that Europe is weak and that Europe can't defend itself without the USA and so on. Now, I do understand that people who write that should really not be blamed, because history and the school system in the USA, I have heard, it's not really focusing on history. It's like if you asked if you asked people on the street in the USA who won the Second World War, I guess they would, I don't know, maybe they would say the USA, which is ridiculous. But so I don't blame anyone here, but it's yeah, I'm just saying that this is happening now, and we're going to see more of it. Will it matter to the American foreign trade balance that if all Norwegians boycott them? No, I don't think so. But I find it interesting, so maybe you will as well. Um, so I will. Okay, we have a lot of people in the chat. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I read somewhere. Do you know which nation? Which nation, at least in the Western world, which nation has the best success when it comes to wars? Won the most wars? You know which one? um, yeah, yeah, you did know. Okay, France. Yes, that's France. Yes. B. Hendrik says, I think people are just used to you say being the quiet kid in the corner. You're being very funny. No, quite the opposite. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay. I'll have to scroll up a little bit because I need to get context here. Shining Noctols, thank you. Rolf Steiner, I think he's. Are you Norwegian? Ukraine is kidnapping men off the streets. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And that is completely against any decency and all human rights. Let's see. Eddie Hazard says, if the USA is so ripe for criticism, why is most of the world migrating here? Last time I checked, most of the world, when it comes to people migrating into other countries, it is actually the neighboring countries. Contrary to popular belief, it is the neighboring countries in the Muslim world that takes the most migrants. And I'm sorry, that goes against what everyone think. I was surprised myself when I checked the numbers. Do they get treated well there? No. They're just put in camps. But no, the USA is not taking the most migrants of the countries in the world. No, it's not. Not even close. Okay. Yeah, just taking names and killing dragons. I don't know. Maybe you're not very old, but you're writing Europe trash. It's okay to disagree, but this chat here and this community, we don't tolerate people being idiots. So please try your best to form sentences and don't use rude words. I will say some rude words now and then, but that's allowed. I will do what I like. You can't. So yeah, the Anchor Punch boxing news. It's very complicated on a lot of levels. The US has its faults, but are not alone in that. Yeah, absolutely. It's very complicated. And I think all the mistakes and the corruption and the lack of ethics when it comes to European nations, it's quite, I don't know, it, it's almost impressive that they get away with it, you know. Um, and I've made a video on the main channel a long time ago, and I said something along the lines of the most scary words I ever heard was that when they said that we will win the war in Ukraine, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Yeah, that war is lost, and it has been for a long time. Whatever it takes, really, even a nuclear war, whatever it takes. That's scary. Um, let's see here. Yeah, Kahina Lawrence says, I really dislike using terms like Euro trash, white trash, etc. Have some more respect for yourself, for others, and for language itself. Exactly. Yeah, just to recap, as the cool kids say, this is a comment, this live stream here. It's a comment on what I've seen just over the weekend, a boycott starting now of everything that comes from the USA, basically. And I will assume it's the same attitude in other Scandinavian countries. So far, I'm reading the news here, and it's yeah. People really don't like the attitude coming from the USA now. When I say the attitude coming from the USA, I'm saying the attitude presented to us by both mainstream media and to some degree, no, you know what? It's mainly mainstream media, because if you go on YouTube, you will see lots of people from the USA having a very intellectual take on this and what's going on. And but you know, it's Trump all over the place. Trump all over the place. And it's we don't like what we are seeing, you know. Um, so um, let's see. Wolf, Sigma, is that Sigma? Is it? I can't remember the that alphabet there now. But saying Americans are mostly Europeans, but we are moving away from globalism and wokeness. Yeah, but you know what? If you ask people here, where did the wokeness come from? I'm pretty sure everyone would say, "Oh, those crazy Americans, the crazy Americans." And Norway, I would say, well, Scandinavia, all of the Scandinavian countries, we were never really woke. It never caught on here. It did get here eventually, not at the same degree. It's not widespread here, but you know, it did get here. And I'm pretty sure everyone here thinks that it came from the USA. Um, so Dave, OBS again, language. You know, let's put it this way: if I will mind my language, at least for the rest of this live stream, and you will only get a response if you do the same in the chat. Okay. Wolf says it came from communism. No, that's not correct. It's really not correct. No. So, hi there, the Osmanli. Thank you for saying that. Likewise, I should say. So, let's see here. Yes, the transgender law thing, that thing. Yeah, I think that came from the USA, and yeah. No, communism. Have you read Das Kapital? Have you? I think no. It's like it's like this is the thing, also I think is a problem when we see when Europeans look at things, we especially things coming from the USA. It's like people in the USA seem to have these two stickers, and one sticker says communism, the other one says Satanism, and they will put those stickers on things they don't like. And just because you repeat that until it gets very boring doesn't make it right. Now, you can go and study the origin of ideologies, and just one guy on a recording, on YouTube, it doesn't make it correct. You have to spend more time on it, and it's because you're not correct. Those are two different things. Wokeness and communism, those are two different things. You can have communist people being very socially conservative. I know a few of those, and it doesn't. I mean, if you read Das Kapital, it's full of racism. It's full of prejudiced attitudes. It's no. I would say wokeness is a popular culture phenomenon that got out of hand, and it seems to have its origin in the USA. Yeah, I know about the Frankfurt ghost user, the Frankfurt School. I know about that. But there are many such conspiracies. I'm not saying that's a conspiracy theory. I'm saying it's a conspiracy. People conspired. I know about that, but there are many such. Okay. Right. I'll leave that, because if you want to believe it came from Marxism, you're fucking wrong. It's just not correct, and that's okay. If it makes you feel better, go ahead. Marx and so on. Okay. Any philosopher out there, anyone who has studied the history of ideas, will be able to tell you in great detail why that is not correct. Yeah, I said language. We didn't manage to do that. So, yeah. Okay, let's move on, because that's just boring. And you can bang people in a hammer and they will call it a knife all day long if they want to. Let's see here. Yeah, April, isn't that right? Every generation has to have boundaries to try and stretch. The new thing is just a modern way. Yeah. When I was young, last year, when I was young, the gender bending thing was a thing in popular culture. And you had these guys wearing makeup and hair like women, really. And David Bowie and all of that, and there was a lot of it. It was very common. So, um, yeah, you know, it's not new. Um, okay, yeah. So, satanic metal, yeah, that was big in Norway during the 90s. That is true. We had some crazy people here burning down churches and stuff, and it was not good at all. Um, Now, black metal is a thing. Well, it's a Norwegian kind. No, black metal came from Norway. I'm very proud about that. It shouldn't be confused with criminal activities, by the way. um, Horror Business says black metal brought me to Norway. Uh, let's see here. Yeah, so just to recap a little bit, it's a difficult one, this, because I'm being taken into account for anything I report is like, oh, that's your opinion. I'm not boycotting the USA, which you should know because we are now on YouTube, right? Um, Now I'm not sure if I have to. Uh, at least some part of it is in the USA because they need my tax papers and all of that stuff. It's massive red tape. Um, but didn't they move to Ireland? Ireland for tax purposes. But anyway, so I'm not boycotting the USA. I'm just trying to report here. Um, let's see. We are putting people in timeout now. Okay. Yeah, Horror Business says, I think if people want to boycott us, as they are doing, they should give us our money back and don't ask us for help when they start losing. Yes. With respect, I don't think no. Yeah, talking about Scandinavia now. Okay, so let's keep it to that. It I hope nobody in the USA believe that the USA is giving money to Norway. Like, come on. No. um, what is a situation here is that this thing they call intelligence, right? Spying on Russia, let's call it for this. The Americans, dare I say, the people from the USA, they need Norway for that. And I don't think anyone sensible in Norway is going to say, we will kick you out, because that would just be foolish, you know. But it's more like we allow the USA military to do their thing here, if you know what I mean. Not like without limits, but the spying thing. um, uh, Charles Christensen, the USA has been funding and providing your defense for decades. No, I don't know where that comes from. No, you're talking about something else. You're talking about the American contribution to NATO. I'm talking about Norway. It's great that you support this channel here as a member, but it's not correct what you wrote there. Yeah, Blue Kachina says stop listening to the media. I mean, I'm sure that in the USA now, the rhetoric, especially on things like Fox News and so on, and they have said many stupid things before, and they will outright lie if it fits them, and like CNN, but they have a different agenda. Uh, but I'm sure they will say that, all those countries get money and support from the USA. They can't defend themselves. And I'm like, what the hell? What? It's not correct. Born toe bleed. That's a lie. Norway doesn't get money from the USA. No, it's absurd. Norway does not get money from the USA. That's no. uh, yeah, I mean, that's a fantasy. I don't know where that comes from. I think people get confused there because the USA is contributing more than they share to NATO. That's a different thing. It's not like NATO NATO is not the defense forces of the separate countries within NATO. NATO it was until Trump, was a coalition, where if one country gets attacked, you basically attack into the entire NATO, and then you have the duty to defend that country and all of that. But no, it's Charles says Norway couldn't defend itself without NATO, and NATO is nothing without the USA. Yeah, that's correct. If a superpower like Russia or China would invade Norway, Norway could not defend itself against that. That goes for all the countries in NATO, even the USA. You have to look at the fucking numbers, and the numbers will tell you that if, let's say, you have a coalition of Russia and China attacking the USA, you wouldn't know what to do. And I'm sorry that goes against what you believe in, and the idea that the USA is invincible, but it's not. It really isn't. So that's what we need to. People get emotional here, and it's difficult for people to think clearly when they get emotional. Joe says Norway's defense spending exceeds NATO requirements. Is that the latest numbers? Because I thought it was below, and then it was, for a long time it was below the requirements, and now I think it's above. I would, Sirtim 94 says we have nuclear weapons. Yeah, who has not nuclear weapons? Well, I mean, many countries have nuclear weapons. And if you have, like, does it make a difference if you have 5,000 nuclear rockets and your enemy has 1,000? Doesn't matter. It will still be the end of the world. So, Kyle, you obviously don't know US as well as you think. I don't think I know the US well. How would I know? I'm just looking at the numbers, but I get what you're saying there. Maybe. I think that the attitude is that the Americans are a species quite separate from other people, and they will fight because they have guns and nobody can invade the USA. It's absurd to say that the USA would be invaded. That why would anyone do that? There is no money in that. Well, might be, but it's not going to happen. But it's like if it happened, you would just be in the USA like all other people, and it would be hell because war is hell. Now, the USA hasn't had a war on its own soil since the Civil War. Yeah, I know Pearl Harbor was attacked, but apart from that, and I think that does something to people's understanding of the realities of war. Um, I think I'm very glad that such horrible things have not happened on US soil for a long, long time because it should never happen. But I'm seeing unrealistic and inflated ego all over the place. It doesn't look good, and this is what's causing the boycott that I was talking about. Uh, will the USA manage, even if Scandinavians boycott lots of the US products? Of course, we are tiny countries here, but I'm just telling you that this is the attitude here, and it's a reaction to what we are seeing on a daily basis. And what we are seeing on a daily basis is this attitude coming from certain people in the USA that the USA is the best, most powerful, and Europe can't defend itself, and you're just children, weak children, and so on and so on. It's we don't like that. You wouldn't like it either, and that's the cause of this boycott that we are seeing now. Um, yeah, I know Norway has. It's a nation with a lot of firearms, and that's quite common here. Um, and also, the population is trained in the military and all of that. But I'm not going to claim that. Oh, we are fighters. We would fight the Russians if they invaded. We would win, and all of that. I'm not going to say that. So, it's very easy that these things become, excuse my language again, a pissing contest. It shouldn't, because it's just foolish, you know. Green-eyed lady says, "What Norwegian products can I boycott?" Well, a lot of them. You can start boycotting me. I'm a product of Norway, I guess. Dried fish, I don't know. Let's see here. Wesley says most Americans couldn't fight their way out of McDonald's. Yeah. Norway owns guns, but they won't fight because they are a smart, loving, life country. Well, I wish that was true. My family fought during the Second World War. And one of them who would have been my well, he was obviously killed. Well, he was killed by the Nazis fighting them in Norway. He would have been my, what is go up, some kind of grand uncle or something. Um, who helped you in World War II? Well, that was mostly, well, nobody really helped like that while Norway was occupied. Uh, but during the war, the fight in Norway, it was aided by the British mostly. They would train. A great uncle, yeah. They would train soldiers in the resistance. Sharp Canine says, I became a patron. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. Um, um, Ghost User says Americans should not let the media dictate their emotions or sense of self-worth. Yeah, but we are seeing a lot of that. Laura, what are we supposed to be boycotting now? Well, you know what? I think boycotting allies is stupid. I'm not going to do it. And I was against boycotting Russia as well. So, but I don't know what will be next. I don't know. But it's a general attitude here. Audrey says, the Americans don't seem to know what a world war is. All countries get involved. Do you ever hear other countries saying, we helped you in World War? No, you don't really see that. It's true what you're saying there. And the sad truth about World War II is that, the Soviets won that war, basically. And it was a matter of slaughtering people until one side just couldn't fight anymore, you know? Mark is asking a very important question here. What will NATO do when Americans say bye-bye? Well, at the moment, I've looked into that, and I've looked at the numbers. And at the moment, the diplomats and state leaders are talking. There are people in the USA, and from my understanding is that in the USA now, there isn't any they do not want to leave NATO. The grown-ups in the room do not want that, because the USA need NATO because they need access to countries bordering to Russia. And without NATO, they couldn't. They have to move. They can't be there without being part of NATO. So the grown-ups, people who are not like Trump and J.D. Vance, people who can behave themselves, they are talking now. They're trying to solve this like adults, and we will see what happens. I'm hoping that things will find a solution. They will find a solution, a sensible solution. April, yes, it is correct. Well, I was wrong. Nobody wins a war. But if you have to look at the numbers, and if you have to look at what turned this around, it was the Soviets. It was not the fucking Americans, if you know what I'm saying here. I'm sick and tired of hearing that. You have to look into history and read history properly. And it takes time to do that. So, okay. But if it should happen that the USA leaves NATO, the first thing to consider here is that going to last for 3 years, and is it 10 months, or is it going to last forever? I believe that in the next presidential election in the USA, you will get a Democratic president. It seems obvious. And that president and that administration will then get the USA into NATO again. But a lot can happen in a short time. We have seen that lately. So what would Europe do what would NATO do if the USA leaves NATO? And the truth is that they would just keep doing what they're doing. Now, if you look at the numbers, it would be a big blow, isn't that what you call it, to NATO if the USA leaves. But NATO would be more than strong enough to keep doing what they're doing. I've said this before, and it looks like they are more than they have more than enough military power to keep the war in Ukraine going. And I will add, sadly. So if you look at NATO compared to the USA, NATO has the most. NATO without the USA has more military power, a lot more military power than the USA. And so, yeah, NATO would just keep doing what they're doing, you know. Mick Memol says NATO would be out of ammo in 2 months. Okay. Peter says, not true. Europe don't have manpower. Again, I think it's useful to look at the actual numbers, which you haven't, clearly. There is another thing here, and this is something I'm very much against. European state leaders seem to have a willingness to slaughter their own population. We have seen that in the past. So manpower will never be a problem. But it's a problem that manpower will never be a problem in Europe, because it's basically slaughtering an entire generation. So, yeah. Let's see here. I'll scroll up. I missed. Thank you, Logan, for your super chat there. It's very kind of you. If Norwegians are mad, the people of the US are tired of being and funding every corrupt politician's pocket. Yeah. Anders, thank you so much for your donation there. That's very kind of you. Let's see here. Anders is asking, and thank you again for your donation. How is the boycott reasonable? I don't think it is. Hi there, Angela. Good to see you. No, I don't think that boycott is reasonable. I'm just saying it's happening. Hotep here says the trolls came out in full force tonight. Don't they have work in the morning? Yeah, we have seen some trolls there. People people seem to people seem to get very emotional about this, especially in the USA, and it's because the numbers and the facts go against what people want to believe and what people feel. And I think also there's a clash of behavioral way, how you behave, because in Northern Europe you don't really show emotions. You try not to show emotions, and people in the USA are very emotional. Uh, to us, looks very emotional. Daniel says the Cold War never ended, did it? Maybe it didn't. It did look good, with perestroika and so on. It really did look good, and things are moving in the right direction. Tom, we do have a shared language here. Most people in Europe can talk English. They can speak English. Paul, why are Americans so emotional? Good question. Kahina, the declining birth rates, the crisis no one talks about. I have talked about it and made a video about it as well. And you are right, this will have dramatic impacts in Norway and around Europe. Yeah, but you know where else? China, India, and the USA, amongst others. So yeah, well, I think no, English is English is a common language here. Yeah. Let's see. Now, J.D. Vance is interesting. Just let me comment on that, Eugene. I find him interesting because he is someone who has started his campaign for becoming the next president. And it seems like he is every time he's on the international scene, he is sucking up to the boss. That's first of all, that's the first thing he does. And also he's preparing his campaign, or he's running his campaign basically. And his speeches are directed to the Americans, to his future voters. And he's standing there talking, with his talking points that his future voters will love. He's a very poor diplomat. And he seems like unqualified for the job that, he shouldn't be outside of his borders. Is he correct? Most of the things that he has said, I believe, is correct. But there's a way of saying, he has a way of saying it that is, and there's a time and place for everything. And I think that he's becoming the most disliked politician here in Europe. I mean, I don't know. I don't have numbers on that. But on one side, I can say that he's not wrong, but also he's obnoxious, and it's disrespectful. So we'll see. I know a lot of people love him. He's smart and he's beautiful and sexy and all of that. I like his eyeliner a lot. But this is a guy who is not going to bring people together. He's a very is the word divisive? He's a divisive person. Alaska Jack says, we don't care about Europe's feelings. Well, likewise, we don't care about feelings in the USA. So we have that in common. Yeah, he does come across as a soft boy, and yeah. And I think, yeah, we'll see what happens. But it's like he's extremely disliked here. He's extremely disliked, and I see why. Because it's not like people. What irritates me about that little obnoxious little prick. It's that he he's standing there lecturing us as if he is the only one who can see the problems here. Problems largely, you know what? It's like, it seems like he has taken upon himself to be the hero of Europe and he will be the voice of Europe. Well, he's not. And that's why we don't like him. His little, the stage show there with Zelensky, just shameful. Yeah. No, it was a sad thing to watch. No, so it's not like his message is wrong. It's the attitude that is wrong. And I see from the comments there that now people, oh, we got you. You got emotional. Oh, we got you. You're being very bright, doing very well. And it's fantastic to see this. The level of, yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, Blue Cachino says, I always hate it when they call American presidents the leader of the free world. Yeah, they do. They still do that. Yeah, it only breeds an overgrown ego. So, yeah. Stealth mode, thank you. Thank you. No, I'm not surprised. Horror business. I'm not surprised. And this is as expected. But it's like if I can get a little bit personal here, it's I know how this works. This channel here, well, all of my channels really, but I do get some messages now and then, quite often, and they will say, if I criticized the Christian nationalists, evangelicals, or anything that seems to be important to the nationalist American USA thing, I get the following comment. You are, what's the word again? It's foolish to, well, basically, people are saying it's foolish to say things that your audience don't like. And I find that very strange, because if I can't say what I want, then basically I'm a slave to YouTube and a slave to my audience. So it's like uh, I do see the irony here. I do see the irony. Yuval says the USA will save us when we are in need. um, and people don't get what I'm saying. So I can say again, I've said it many times now. J.D. Vance was mostly correct in what he said, but it's the tone, it's the place, and it's the fact that he's trying to portray himself as a spokesperson for people in Europe. He's not. That's the problem, you know. So yeah, where is the place then, Bjorn? Well, Steve Larry. um, the place would be somewhere in the USA. We are now getting these comments. St. Louis, be the man I know you are. It's like, what the fuck? Um, yeah, Hotep, yes, that's exactly right. JD sounds like he's been on the 4chan forums for too long. Yeah, because that's the tone. That's exactly the tone, you know. Um, and it's like, you know what? You know what? He could be, if he had come across a little bit less self-entitled, he would probably have become very popular here, because he's mostly correct. He's wrong in some of the things he's saying is not correct. It's just wrong. I don't know why he's saying that, but it's wrong. Um, so, so it's like, but we would have forgiven that if he had come across as a little bit less self-entitled. Trump, he's like, you know what? He's like Trump without the charisma. Without Trump used to be funny, actually. Now he's just a cranky old man, but he used to be funny. J.D. Vance is not funny. He doesn't have charisma. Yuval, he'll be the next president. Well, I don't have a crystal ball, but I would say no, I don't think so. I think the next one will be a Democrat. Shining Noctowl says, I think Vance is actually worse than Trump in some ways. It's the attitude. Yeah, I agree. It's the attitude. With Trump, you could say that in a way, Trump has skills. Trump has skills. He has. As a businessman and so on. What does J.D. Vance have? He wrote a book. I mean, no, it's yeah. But I have to uh, Yeah. It's just last few thoughts there. Okay, what I'm seeing is that people are continuously going into this way of thinking that you either is against or for. So they people are being tribal, and you're for or against. So having a nuanced view on things is not going to make you popular. I learned that a long time ago. Um, so yeah, well, I think you would be surprised if you came to Europe. Europe is not woke. So we have the entire Eastern Europe filled with hard men. Let's put it that way. You have Scandinavia, which is not woke. it's it's insane that people think that. Um, and I mean, no, no. And you can try going to Southern Europe, Spain, Italy, and so on, and with the woke stuff. It's not going to be welcomed very much. Uh, Sweden, I don't know about Sweden actually. Um, I don't know. Okay, but I have to leave you with that now. Um, so yeah, let hate comments begin, and yeah, what a wonderful, wonderful time to be alive.